Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream.
Good morning.
RoScripts is a semi-prominent content creator in the Minecraft community who happens to be blood-related brothers with Quackity, a Minecraft YouTuber who plays on the Dream SMP. More recently, RoScripts has been called out for multiple different things on Twitter in an allegation that went underground for way longer than it ever should. So today I'm going to sit down, go through all of the information that's recently resurfaced and give my point of view at this time. But before I begin, I'd like to make it very clear that everything stated from this point onwards in this video is completely, wholly, and 100% alleged. I'm not saying that to cover my ass, but instead because I feel like it's very important that you genuinely recognize that the information here could be refuted, or with new information and new evidence could be overturned. As such, I'm only presenting you the information as I see it at this time, and if more information comes out, I'll be sure to make a follow-up where I correct any mistakes in this video and clarify upon future information. But with that being said, before I begin, hi, I'm HarleyTBS, I'm a YouTuber with 40,000 subscribers now. Thank you, by the way. I can't believe that you've reached this goal for me. I highly appreciate it. And if you'd like to help me get to 50k by the end of the year, feel free to check out my other social media linked down below. And feel free to also just subscribe to the channel. That'd be highly appreciated. And with that being said, if you'd like to support me financially on this channel, feel free to click the join button down below, as by clicking it, you'll get access to become a channel member and donate an amount of your choosing and get one of these 3 icons to join the coffee community and support me. I'm a coffee channel that tries to make content like T-channel content, but with actual research, evidence, and making videos on stuff that actually matters. So if that sounds like content that may interest you, please do feel free to check out some of my other content. But before I begin, I'd like to address one concern, because I've seen a lot of comments recently mention it, and I feel like if I don't address it, I'm going to continue getting these comments which continue to annoy me. I notice a lot of comments that ask me if the fact that I breathe so much is like a medical issue or something, and I'd just like to say it's simply because I take so long to read these scripts and do so many takes that I end up up over and over in my breathing. I assure you, I don't believe I'm dying. So it's all good. One! This Twitter thread from Mimi, which was released on September the 29th, 2020, with 15,000 likes, details how in 2018 and 2019, when they were 11 and 12, when they said they were 13 and 14, they had an involvement with RoScripts, who was Quackity's brother, and RoScripts was involving themselves with this minor. Firstly, when they were just joking around and having occasional conversations where Mimi wasn't even speaking with their mic but feel very comfortable with talking in the VCs. The victim also takes the time to highlight the fact that RoScripts was involving themselves in a group of minors, which is a huge red flag according to the minor, and I would agree, as a grown adult that was in their 20s, they shouldn't have been in a group chat with teenagers. However, I don't think that in itself is enough to indict them. However, they continue saying that RoScripts was trying to coerce them into speaking and trying to gain their trust through coercing them with a bunch of nothings and eventually convincing them to talk in VC and eventually messaging them in private. The group would play games together, and in those games RoScripts would talk to that minor but as a joke, and eventually RoScripts started sending the minor explicit messages as a joke. I'd argue this in itself is absolutely abhorrent. Jokingly sending messages to someone that is over 6 years younger than you, 13 and 14 as you'd believe, would be absolutely reprehensibly disgusting. This kind of involvement with a minor should never happen, and even just jokingly messaging minors is absolutely off the books, absolutely disgusting, and absolutely unforgivable. This involvement with a minor is not something you should ever approach, as that could immediately mess up the minor's mental state and immediately have implicit effects on their future life. Everybody knows that you should not approach a minor in this way, as it could lead to giving them the wrong implications, and especially because it's just downright fucking disgusting. However, it gets even worse. This minor brought attention to the situation to the staff and people like Axel, and according to this claim from the victim, they said that the server just told them basically that they shouldn't really do anything about it or bring it to Alex Quackity's attention because they're brothers, which I think is a poor way to handle this situation, as if Alex is running the server and if this behavior is going on within Alex's server, this should have been handled by the brother immediately being removed. No matter what attachment Quackity had to this person, no matter how many ties they had, if they're taking advantage of minors, if they're engaging in this way with minors, that should be an immediate separation. You should not be involving yourself or keeping them in your communities when they are involving themselves with minors in this way. However, these allegations have to be very skeptical, as sadly the minor claims that they deleted all of the screenshots during a panic attack, and as such it's really hard to have proof to source all of this information, and as such we can only go off of the evidence that other people have provided, which I'll show in a second. However, from what I can gather, if this victim testimony is true, I believe that Quackity's brother should be removed from all social media platforms involving Quackity, they should be taken away from the social media platforms where they can engage with minors or minors in the community, as they've been shown to have taken advantage of that power dynamic and have been shown to take advantage of that age gap to involve themselves in sexual ways with minors, which is absolutely immorally reprehensibly disgusting, and I believe that there's not really much more I can state than that's downright wrong and categorically unforgivable. I've seen a lot of posts about Quackity and questioning if Quackity knew about this or questioning if Quackity should be involved, and while I don't believe Quackity should be made to make a public statement and choose between fans and family, as I believe that's a terrible position to put them in, and I believe that that'd be a poor way of handling the situation as they don't really need to be involved, I believe that Alex should at least be made aware, and it is important to know whether Alex was aware of this situation, and I believe it's important that Alex does remove their brother from the team and make sure that their brother gets the help they need if all of these allegations are true, as this is a situation where their brother was actively harming people in Quackity's community, and if these allegations are true, they shouldn't be allowed to remain in that community when they're in a position where they could continue to take advantage of minors in that community. I believe that could only lead to more problems. Then another Twitter thread comes to light which reached 18,000 likes from a person called Owen, who claims to be Quackity's editor and also an admin and moderator of his Discord server, who was working in the same circles as RoScript from 2017 to 2021, and they show screenshots of a conversation with RoScripts when RoScripts was in their 20s and a minor was in 16 when RoScript was having inappropriate conversations with that minor. However, we have more concrete proof here, as they actually have a recording of RoScripts when they were allowing and saying that they were okay with and laughing off the issue of minors being able to access an NSFW chat that was temporarily made available, which is absolutely disgusting. If you're aware that minors are allowed to access this chat in your server, you should immediately put barriers in place to stop that, not laugh it off and act like it isn't a big issue or it'll only be for a little time. And I'll play you that audio clip now so you can hear it in its full.
No, they can't be soft banned because it's literally NSFW. Users
this is
need to
inappropriate.
confirm they are of over legal age to view the
None of these
content in
people
this
are
channel.
over legal age, RoScripts. None of these people are not. That is not over 18. A release is not over 18. This is not okay.
Dude! Okay. This is just
actually
temporary.
something
This
that
is
can-
just...
No, this is something that can be legally used against adults, okay? I'm not comfortable with this. This is not okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay, look. I understand what you're saying, and I get what you're trying to say right now, and I get your point. But I mean, dude, dude, it's not that big of a deal, okay? It's just gonna be a temporary channel for just literally like what, 30 minutes?
Owen continues by saying, being an admin in Quackity's server, it was known and discussed how RoScripts would befriend people quite a bit younger than him. However, many times after arguments, the situation would be swept under the rug and forgotten. Most of the time, RoScripts would be playing Roblox or something with these people who he claimed close to and had a lot of inappropriate messages. I'm sure many people who have been close to him in the last few years know what I'm talking about, which I hope to God is true. I hope that there are more people that can testify RoScripts' behavior than just this staff and one of the victims, and I hope there's more evidence to come that would show RoScripts' behavior that can solidify more accurately everything RoScripts has done, and whether anything after that was severely blindsided. They also highlight the fact that the victim and their thread was not made for clout, as at the time RoScripts didn't have a following, and it wouldn't make much sense for a victim to come out against someone that didn't have a following in the first place. And also, Owen addresses the fact that there have been some minors defending RoScripts, saying, oh, I was in GCs with RoScripts, and yeah, he made some weird jokes, but we didn't really mind, which isn't a defense of his behavior, and his pattern of creepy and behavior, which I totally agree with if true. Owen also urges other victims to come out and say they will be updating their thread with time with more information as it comes out. And another Twitter thread was also released from Parker on the same day, where they say that they were in the Discord server at the same time, and they can say that RoScript was definitely creepy no matter what in DMs and public chats, and he was always creepy towards younger girls, not directly towards Parker, but towards their friends at the time, and they have zero contact with those friends now, but from what they can remember is that one of those friends were messaging RoScript and he was a total creep, and they were all 12 at the time, and they continue by saying that RoScript had messaged many young people trying to get them in VCs and playing Roblox, and this person testifies that they've probably taken advantage of over 10 people, which is a hard thing to gather and it's hard to really know. They claim that none of the friend group went to mods as they were scared to be banned, and they also claim that they wanted to get in contact with the victims but they don't know how to. They also testify the fact that at the time they'd had VCs with RoScript where he asked basic questions like how old they are and other basic things, and after they hung up he asked them to play Roblox and they played for an hour until he said something that made them uncomfortable, reprehensible, and they stopped talking to him, and he said something along the lines of, "I want your baby," and the 12-year-old self was like, "What the fuck, weirdo?" And it's really hard to know if this is true. It's really hard to know as there's no evidence behind it. However, if true, this claim is quite severe, as telling a minor at 20 that you want to have their baby is absolutely disgusting. That behavior is depraved, and if true, again, no evidence, so it's hard to know. If true, that makes me want to vomit. The fact that Quackity's brother was engaging in this behavior is absolutely morally reprehensible, and while obviously that is no fault of Quackity's, and it's not something Quackity should have to suffer for, be cancelled for, or anything else, as it obviously isn't Quackity's fault. Quackity isn't responsible for their brother's actions. This is so fucking disgusting that it was happening in Quackity's community, a community filled to the brim with minors. I do genuinely hope that the evidence comes out from either side to prove the fact that either RoScripts is guilty or innocent, because this situation is so disgusting if these claims are true, that RoScripts should never have a platform online again if this evidence is actually accurate, and if these claims are true. You should not have been involving yourself with minors in these ways categorically. You should not have been in a community around Roblox engaging yourself with minors in this way, and you should not have said these things towards minors, had conversations with minors, etc, etc. That stuff is completely outlandish. With the rise in all this information, a Twitter thread was released from Axel or Axely, another content creator, where they explain their own experience with RoScripts and they give their own opinion on the situation. This Twitter thread reads as follows. I want to preface everything I'm about to say with, I 100% believe and support the victims, and I felt horrible reading through the thread. I also apologize that it took me a few hours to write this, as I wanted to talk to people who were around a lot during what I'm about to talk about, so I could make sure that I have an accurate timeline of the events. Most of what I'm covering in this took place between 2017 and 2018. In the thread that surfaced today, this person detailed their experience with RoScripts, the brother of Quackity, and in one of the tweets, they said they tried to talk to me about it, but I asked him not to go to Alex because of them being siblings. I never spoke to this person directly, which they say was their own mistake, and as far as they're aware, they were never approached directly, but they recognise they should have searched for the minor if there was even an inkling of this behaviour going on. The information they received was not the extent of the Twitter thread, and they perceived it as vague and wanted to know more, a perception they no longer agree with. They were not aware of a lot of the information they read today, and they agree that that's their fault, and that they should have pursued and pushed this a lot more. They say they deeply regret their part in this, and then they say that before they started making videos in the second half of 2018, their friends and them played a big part in running the Quackity Discord. And around the time of between 2017 and the first half of 2018, they stopped being active in the server as they started making their own content. RoScripts and them have apparently never been on good terms, and neither were the rest of the staff, and they were never exactly sure why people had problems at the start, but they quickly developed as we all tried to work on the server together. At a certain point, it led to a lot of us quitting our positions in the server, because RoScripts at one point was temporarily installed as the server owner and wanted to establish an NSFW server, which verifies the claims of a previous Twitter thread. They claimed the staff felt that very inappropriate with a server having a lot of young members, but RoScripts was very persistent on this idea, which would support the idea of RoScripts being a creep that wanted this behavior with minors. They also claimed that that combined with the fact that a lot of people were uncomfortable with RoScripts' activity in the server, and that apparently led to a lot of them making it known that they would refuse to work on the server as long as RoScripts was a part of it. This allegedly led to Alex talking to RoScripts with the conclusion that he would remain as admin but would stop being active in the server, and they haven't spoke to RoScripts since then besides a brief hello when they met their family in a passing in 19. And they state the fact that considering what surfaced today and how it happened in the same year as the events they described prior, they should have pushed even harder and had him completely removed from the server, as they were way too passive in a position of power, and they feel terrible about what's happened, and they're incredibly disappointed and cannot apologize enough, which I understand the sentiment. I feel like a lot of people were put in a terrible situation here where they didn't want RoScripts involved in the server, as they recognized that RoScripts was a danger and involving themselves in disgusting behavior. However, a lot of people couldn't step in and take action against them, and I feel like the fact that someone like Axely, a content creator with a bigger following, was actually speaking on this and testifying the claims that are being made, I feel like they have a lot more validity, and it's incredibly sad to see the fact that nothing had happened until now, and that this situation went under the rug for so long, as no one actually recognized the original Twitter thread, as RoScripts didn't have a following at the time that they could be cancelled from. However, in a hasty snapback against all of the allegations released against them, RoScripts decided to make a Twitter thread response that they've now deleted after realizing that they probably can't escape this backlash, where they excuse all of their behavior, and within it they claim the fact that none of this evidence is apparently true, and all of it is completely out of context slander. They say they recognize who the victim actually is, and they claim that the allegations made against RoScripts are completely false, and that they're serious allegations that are being used to throw dirt on RoScripts, and they say that this is absolutely disgusting. They claim they want to condemn these baseless allegations, and they claim all of these allegations came because they banned a lot of toxic people from the server. However, they provide absolutely no evidence to prove this. They claim this establishes a motive and addresses the allegations with that prior context in mind, saying that that person was one of the active people in one of their group chats that were created and they were added to, and apparently that's the only reason they recognize this person's name, and they never VC'd one-on-one with this person, and that there was no reason to, since everyone in the voice chat would already discuss game nights and everything with everyone involved in a call. They claim they never coerced this minor, they claim they never made jokes, they claim they never sent a DM, and they say they only have one screenshot to prove what was actually going on. Then they decide to go into skepticism and make some theories as to why this person would make allegations without providing any proof to prove themselves innocent against any of the claims made against them. And then they continue by explaining the only reason they made the NSFW chat was to be edgy, which I'd still argue isn't an excuse for adding minors to an NSFW chat or allowing them to access it by any means. However, they do recognize the fact that it was irresponsible of them and they should have realized what it would look like to other people, and they apologize for that. And then they address one of the Twitter threads and claim that all of the allegations made within that Twitter thread are severely out of context. However, they provide absolutely no proof to justify that by any means at all. They also show some messages that apparently proved that they were shutting down flirtatious talk to prove that they were just treating everyone as friends. They end by saying all the claims are untrue, and they finish there with no more justification, excuse, screenshots, or anything else to prove themselves innocent. However, given the fact that they deleted this Twitter thread as more evidence came out, it becomes incredibly concerning whether they realized that they'd actually been called out and were in the wrong, or maybe they deleted it because they realized that it was a poor representation of the situation, or that they could make a better thread, or maybe there's a lot more justification that we don't know behind the scenes. And as such, I'm only going to put an air of skepticism on why they deleted this Twitter thread, as I do believe it is inherently questionable why they would take down a Twitter thread addressing this situation. However, I've seen people claim that it was because they were mass reported, so it's really hard to know, and right now I'm just going to leave that where it is. Obviously, there is not enough evidence provided on either side to prove this situation conclusively in either way, and while there are a lot of people testifying against Ro, there is not a lot of evidence provided against Ro, so as long as Ro can provide counter evidence proving themselves innocent, I believe this situation could go absolutely either way depending on what comes up next. My personal opinion at this time is that Ro has been involved in some disgusting and deplorable behaviour. However, there is not enough proof to conclusively prove that they were involving themselves with minors, and as such, I cannot prove that claim without a doubt, and as such, I'm just presenting that evidence as is.
Lemon!
But with that being said, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have enjoyed it, as obviously this video covers a serious topic, but I hope nonetheless this video was entertaining, or at least informed you on the situation. If it has, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as that'd be highly appreciated, and also feel free to check out my other social media linked down below. With that being said, if you'd like to support me financially, you can through Ko-fi, Patreon, or the easier way through the join button down below. You can become a channel member and donate a few pounds a month to support me financially, and get these 3 icons, which would genuinely be highly appreciated, as it funds this content and allows me to invest more in improving the quality of these videos. With that being said, feel free to check out my Discord down below. I'm going to shout this out in particular, as we're struggling to keep over 2k members, and you joining would be highly appreciated and would mean that we can keep over that goal. That being said, feel free to just support me in any other way you feel free to, or check out some of my other videos. With that being said, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I just realized how many times I say "with that being said" in my videos, and peace.
Are you fucking dumb?
Says she wanna rock with it like me. I'm a stylish guy. Spend a little guap with it like me. We can catch a fly. Says she wanna rock with it like me.